we may be joined by 3 other folks as we get going, but I appreciate everyone's patience, and it's so wonderful to see you all. And we'll see how far we get with the agenda, but it's just great to be together. So let me ask us all to join in a moment of opening prayer, shall we? Lord, what a pleasure it is and a privilege it is to be your people and to be your church, and that you have brought us together from hundreds of miles apart, and we have these precious moments together, this sacred time, and we just ask that you bless it to our use. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Okay, so as a way of getting acquainted, I took the opportunity of spending a few minutes on the websites of each of your presbyteries. And there's some pretty amazing stuff there, and I want to just quickly share it with you, because there's stuff on each of these websites, I think, or on most of them, that we as educators can benefit by if we know that they're there. So Melissa, can you share the screen? I've got some PowerPoint slides here. Okay, and is it possible to get it into slideshow mode, Melissa?
Yeah, I'm almost there.
Awesome.
Sorry.
Okay, so the Northwest APSI region takes in parts of 2 synods, and the first is the Synod of Alaska Northwest, and you'll see that it has the presbyteries of Inland Northwest, Northwest Coast, Olympia, Seattle, and Yukon. And so next slide, Melissa. So on the Presbytery of Inland Northwest, and it's interesting, let's see. I'm sorry. Inland Northwest is over in Joe's neck of the woods. It's Eastern Washington and Western Idaho. And some of the things on the website that really impressed me, there are some YouTube videos of 30-minute lunchtime conversations. And one of the things about them that's neat is, I believe in each one of those conversations, there's somebody from Gonzaga University. And so they're the sort of things that I would imagine would be of interest to young adults or maybe even high school students. Joe, I don't know if you've watched any of these, but I thought they were pretty cool. And also there's another page that talks about being missional and how that's different from doing mission work. So take a look at the Presbytery of Inland Northwest, and you'll see those things on 2 different pages, and give it a look. Okay, next page, Melissa. Then the Northwest Coast, this is interesting because it goes between Western Washington and into Alaska. And there's a page there with several websites, statements and videos about developing healthy leaders. And they have a program called E3, which is Engage, Equip, and Encourage Leaders. And this would be, mainly lay leaders, but it could certainly be youth leaders as well. And then the Northwest Coast also has its own Facebook page. Okay, next page, Melissa. The Olympia Presbytery, they have a page on the Vital Congregations Initiative and the anti-racism resources. And then I thought it was really neat, this Reverend Crawford Brubaker, he has planted churches, and they moved to Washington so that his wife could plant the Hager's Community Church in a women's prison facility. Yeah. So what an amazing resource that would be, and the insights that they would have, and pretty amazing ministry. Okay, next page, Melissa. Seattle Presbytery, one of the things I noticed about them is they have a bang-up graphic designer, and there's a lot on their page about thriving congregations. And also a number of resources, as I recall, on racial justice. Okay, next page, Melissa. Then we get into Dana's neck of the woods, the Yukon Presbytery, and I wanted to show this map so that you can see there are Presbyterian worshiping communities even up, I mean, is that northern part of Alaska, Dana, is that above the North Pole?
Oh, yes. Yeah. The North Pole is right in the middle of the state by Fairbanks.
Okay. So there is God's community of Presbyterians is in amazing parts of the world. Okay. Next page, Melissa. So two of the special programs of Yukon Presbytery serving those northernmost worshiping communities. Those congregations are accessible only by air, and they're very small and have limited resources. So the presbytery makes sure that elders have special training in order to be able to lead those congregations. And then Project Yes is youth exploring service, youth ministry, where again, groups of high school youth will fly to other congregations and joint venture things like Vacation Bible School and just establish deeper ties among those living in places pretty remote from the rest of Alaska, I would imagine even. Is that right, Dana?
Yeah, and that program is kind of in idle right now. It kind of depends if there's a pastor that can lead the group. But
because it is a special fundraising project of the Presbytery?
Yeah, and the initiative. I can tell you something more up to date that we're doing. If you have another slide. Do you have another slide?
I have some more slides, but not of Yukon Presbytery.
Okay. Yeah. One of the things about, I say before COVID, so probably 2 years ago, we did a reconciliation event with our Native Alaskan brothers and sisters as a presbytery for forgiveness and to begin the path of reconciliation because of all the issues around, related to the doctrine of discovery. And, our missionary movement where we went in and amidst the good things we did, we basically destroyed their culture.
Right.
And so because of that, we have partnered with couple other Native organizations and are really working on a healing ministry right now with our Native churches and individuals in those communities where each community will have a healing community, I would say, get special training so that they can have healing circles within their communities based through the church. The thing that we haven't really worked on yet, this is my bias, is we haven't worked on the issues around white privilege. And I brought it up at the last Presbytery meeting, and I'll be bringing it up at the next one in terms of our role as white people and how we have to do more than reconcile, that we have to change who we are in this presbytery if we really want to have the healing happen.
Does this program have a name?
Yeah, I don't remember what it is. I can find out for you.
Okay.
I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, folks might be interested in that. Thanks. Okay, next page, Melissa. Okay, then we get to the Synod of the Pacific, and this includes California and Nevada, but it also includes the presbyteries of Boise, Cascades, Eastern Oregon, and Kendall, Idaho. So next page, Melissa. Okay, Boise has a couple of things that really intrigue me. One is called Seminary Without Walls, and it is to provide training to lay leaders, but also training that can lead toward credentialed ministry. And one of the things that impressed me was it says, Seminary Without Walls serves the mission of the church and not a particular denomination, allowing for more textured and nuanced perspective. And so that struck me as interesting. I don't know whether it might have in mind that that there may be people in Idaho who have left the LDS church and are seeking a new community, or just something. It strikes me as very inviting and expansive language, and assuming that it is structured to really be that way, that that could be a really healthy thing. And I also was intrigued by the podcasts. There's one called All That's Holy Blue Collar, one that's called Not Holier Than You, and one called To the Other Side, and then 2 blogs, Mission Place and Excess Verbiage. So check those out. Next page, Melissa. Oh, I'm sorry, this is also from Boise Presbytery. And this is from Ruth, who is a lady in the Presbytery. And what struck me as interesting, she repeated Desjardins' reminder that we are not human beings having a spiritual experience, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And that just seemed to be really healthy, important things for us to remember, especially at a time like this. Okay, next page, Melissa. This is Cascades Presbytery, which is the presbytery that those of us in Western Oregon are part of. The Connect graphic, there is a page on our website where every church that is doing any kind of online worship, there's a link to it, and you can link to that church and watch the worship service. Omnibus is the monthly online Presbytery newsletter. There's also a page with anti-racism resources. And then the parish paper is another publication published by a different, it's from, there's a platform, an online platform called the Parish Paper, but they're also posted on the Cascades website. Next one, Melissa. And then Eastern Oregon Presbytery, among other things, apparently has a connection to the Iona community. And there is a schedule of Iona gatherings and practices and prayers on that Presbytery website. And I got a kick out of the title of this article. Iona community member Allison Phipps talks of justice, refugees, fearsome living, and knitting. So take a look at that. Next one, Melissa. Okay, Kendall, Idaho. This is Eastern Oregon. Their mission is encourage people, empower presence, and explore possibilities. And then they have a library page, and on the library page is this downloadable prayer guide that is refreshed, I think, quarterly, and it's an opportunity for people in that presbytery to pray for one another, to pray for churches and ministries, and so forth. And, you know, I think it would be easy enough to download that and just copy in, you know, the names of churches in your own presbytery, and have that as a way of praying for one another throughout the year. So some good stuff on those websites, and just kind of keep them in mind and check them out a couple times a year, and you might find some really good resources. So then at this point, I'd love to get to have us all get a chance to say hello and tell us a little bit about each other. If you don't mind, I will invite people based upon how you show up on my screen. We'll just go from top to bottom. And so let me just tell you, I'm from Portland. I'm a retired certified Christian educator. And I invited anyone, if you have a star word. This is my first year of being offered a star word. And to me, it proves that God has a good sense of humor, because the star word I was given was lightness. And those who know me know that I was mostly absent when the lightness was passed around. And so I'm doing what I can to live into that identity. And my first APSE was in 2005 in Vancouver, British Columbia. And what I remember most of it was we learned this amazing hymn called I Was There to Hear Your Borning Cry. And each verse of it talks about how God was there when we were born, when we were young, when we grew up, when we got older. And then the very last line of it is with one more big surprise. So that's my favorite memory from that APSE, and what my involvement with APSE has done was enabled me to go through the Certified Educator Certification Program and get acquainted with some of our country's most respected Christian educators. So that's been cool. So first on my screen, I see Marcia.
Oh, okay. If you see me looking sideways like this, it's because I'm looking at my big screen where I can see more of your faces, and I can only see a couple of your faces on my little screen. So Marcia Walker, retired over and over and over again, but I keep coming back to children's ministry. Funny thing is, the first Sunday in March, I had finally set up a Sunday school in our new combined merged two churches, which is now is in Macmillan, Oregon. We had Sunday school for one Sunday, and then guess what? Second week of March, do you remember? Closed down. So I had one Sunday of Sunday school in the last 3 years or 4. So, but maybe we'll open back up. My first APSE event was, I think it should have been 86. Whoa, 86, down in San Diego. And I was blown away. I had that one, and I had the other, I don't even remember the name of it, but the evangelical group that has those huge conferences are used to. And it was there either just before or just after APSE. So I had 2 weeks of amazing stuff. It was pretty nice. And around here, there's very little happening because, well, I'm isolated, 30 miles from my church anyway, 50 miles from where I got my shot this morning. And so I've driven 100 miles already today. So anyway, that is life out here in the wilderness.
So glad you're here. It's so great to see you.
I'm so glad.
Thanks. Laura.
Oh, goody. I'm Laura Macmillan. I am Family Ministries Director out at Hillsborough Presbyterian Church. And, oh boy.
Can you get a little closer to the microphone?
My mic goes in and out, so I apologize. And I'm on my laptop and trying not to be overrun by the dog off my bed. And so I'm at Hillsborough Presbyterian Church and been home basically since March, in office a little bit on and off. And my computer's telling me something funny, interesting. And so, yeah, my first APSE was last year, so I got a taste, and then I can't go again. Well, kind of go, but I made some friends, which was really cool. We've been in contact on and off, and bouncing off ideas, keep checking in with each other because we're all across the U.S. And so I'm excited to learn something new from this one and just kind of see where all the rest of this year takes us.
No kidding. Thank you. Joe.
Okay, I'm Joe Bruce, and I am Director of Children's Ministries at Hamlin Park Presbyterian Church in Spokane. I've been in this job, well, July 1 of this year, I'll have been in this job for 18 years.
Wow.
And since March, I've been parked here in my family room office. My wife would love for me to move out finally and move back to the office. I've taken over our living room is my recording studio for all my videos that I record. So she would like to recover our living room as well. Roberta, you and I, our first APSE was the same one, 2005 Vancouver. That was the first one I attended as well. So, and I just, the beauty of that area, was something else. So really enjoyed that. And our church just started a star word this year, and mine was passion. So I guess my passion is, my degree is in science education. And so my passion is just sharing with what I know with others, whether it be kids or adults. That's my passion. And I've got to say, APSE has been great, very helpful, because 2 years ago, Roberta, when you and I first met face to face, we were in Louisville.
Yep.
And I picked up a couple of apps that have been just immeasurable help to me during this COVID time. And I've been using them a ton to make recordings with what I've been doing. So that's what I'm up to.
What 2 apps?
It was one, I can't think of the names of them right now, but one of them was a green screen app that we use. And then the other one, oh, shucks.
If you think of it, put it in the chat room.
I will do that. I'll go look up the names of both of them and put them in, because they've been really invaluable for creating cute little puppet videos and recording things. So I'll do that.
That's great. And Joe, you got another scientist crony here in Heather.
Oh, Heather.
Yep.
Well, I'm a NASA JPL Solar System Ambassador as well. So I do volunteer work for NASA in Washington and Idaho. Go out to schools and talk space program. So
wow, cool. Okay, Miss Melissa.
Hello. I do children's ministry here in Portland, Oregon at Westminster Presbyterian Church. My first APSE, I started this job in August of 2001. It was my first time as an educator. And my pastor at the time said, "You're going to APSE." And I said, "I'm going to what?" In Toronto, Canada in the winter of 2002. So here I was all alone, knew nobody, but it was really, really awesome. And I've been to tons of APSEs. I've served on their board. And it is has afforded me a lot of really wonderful experiences and educational tools. So that's been pretty fun. My star word was grace this year. We've done Epiphany Stars here at Westminster for 20 years, probably. So I have a nice selection in my 19 years that I've been here. Last year was peace, and boy, that one, I held on to that a lot last year in 2020. Who knew how much I would use that one? We're living into grace. We'll see how grace goes. So just, we are doing a lot of kids Zooms. Westminster has forged its way into live streaming, which has really been wonderful and well received. And we are just plugging away, hanging in there. So we are in the throes of putting limp bags together for pickup over the weekend. So I finished the last few at 2:30. So we're good to go.
Oh, cool. Well, and Melissa sure brings a lot of grace to my life, so I think it's the perfect word for her. Heather.
I'm Heather. I'm in Multnomah Presbyterian Church. I do youth and children's ministry, and now I'm in charge of hosting the Zoom worship and editing all our virtual worship stuff, just because I had 2 teenagers at home when everything went down. And so they were the tech gurus that helped me figure out how to do everything. And we have lots of strange animals that we share our home with, and they have made their way into worship videos. and stuff. We do a lot of video content with our animals and our bubble family for worship. So that's been really fun because everything has been online for us exclusively and will be probably for quite some time. My first APSI was also Vancouver. That's the only other APSI I've ever attended. And Dana, I'm really missing the Yukon right now. We're used to going up there at least once, if not twice a year to Skagway. And we are just feeling so cut off and missing everything about being up there and being with those people that we love so much. So when I saw you pop on today, I was like, oh, seeing that map, it breaks my heart right now.
Hopefully you can come back.
Yeah, we are looking forward to borders opening and everyone getting vaccinated. And actually, I got my first dose yesterday, and my first thought was, okay, I'm one step closer to Skagway. So
Cool. Carolyn.
I'm Carolyn. I'm a retired pastor and certified Christian educator who's working with intergenerational ministry in Dallas right now. Although we're, like everybody else, suffering from the COVID close down. And I'm not techie enough, and we don't have teenagers in our congregation, so we're not doing as well with during the COVID time, in terms of connecting. I mean, we're keeping in touch, but it's mostly through phone calls and people making the effort to contact one another, which is happening a lot. So everybody does know where everybody is and how they're doing. So I'm feeling really good about the connections there. My first, when you said first APSI, the first thing I thought of was snow in Denver in 1979. We were just stuck in the snow, that whole APSI. But it hooked me, and I've made everyone that I could afford to attend since then. I was on the APSI board for a while, and I just am really supportive of APSI and grateful for what it's brought both to me and to my ministry and to the lives of so many of us.
Cool. Thank you. And Carolyn and I went to college together, and then 20 plus years later reconnected, and she was one of my mentors when I was going through educator certification. So, Bob, Pastor Bob.
Oh gosh. Yeah, Bob Stebe. I'm out in Hillsboro, aptly named Hillsboro Presbyterian Church. And so glad to be here. It's always nice to connect. Dana and I are laughing at each other because we spent 5 years together in Diamond Bar, as she was the educator with me down there, so in California. So it's APSI, one of the things is it's like homecoming when you go to that thing. So I've not been to too many. My first one was somewhere in the mid 90s in Oakland, California. So that goes a ways back, and went again. Was it 4 years ago? It was in Denver. Anyway, did that one with my daughter Elizabeth, who at that time was the educator youth director at First Pres Vancouver.
Yeah.
And also she then took their youth group up to Dana's place a couple of years ago and did that. So it's just all of these connections that go on, which is really kind of fun. So even this morning in the workshop I was in, there was a woman who was like one of the sort of key kids in the youth group when I was first a youth director in San Luis Obispo 100 years ago.
Wow.
So and she's the Christian educator in San Luis Obispo herself now. So it's just all those good things. If you could see them, you'd see that over here on the wall are a string of stars from the years here. I mean, I started stars when I went to Jerome, Idaho in 1990. Was the first time suddenly I was the solo pastor. So it was, I can do this. And started stars and have had stars ever since. So my one for last year was bold. And it kind of was a year to be rather bold with some things. This year, it's hope. And I kind of like that I have at least something hopeful to look forward to. So anyway, good to be with y'all, and glad we can connect in this way.
Absolutely. Mary.
Yes, okay. Mary Wright Gillespie. I live at Rogue Valley Manor in Medford, and when Carolyn said the 70s, I think my first APSI was in the 70s when I was in Rochester, New York, on Genesee Valley's church educator for the Presbytery. Let's see, I was on the APSI cabinet in the 90s, and I retired from San Anselmo as associate pastor in 1999, and we moved to Oregon 2002. So I've become an Oregonian and go to First Church Medford. And I haven't been to, I went to APSI every year until about 4 years ago, and haven't been recently, but this is a great opportunity. I did enjoy listening to Bruce this morning. He was great. And I'm more active in the retirement home I live in. I'm religious activities, what a hilarious title that is, which is kind of less active right now than we were. And yesterday we all received our first vaccination, so we're on the move too. So that's a great feeling. So, and on Sundays, it is so great. I Zoom worship with San Anselmo, and then I do our YouTube worship at a later time. So it's amazing. And I was talking to Don Briggs this week, and he was talking about going worship Fourth Presbyterian, so we can do it from all over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's and I want to be sure all the Cascade people know I took my boundary training in January, so I can still be an active clergy. I think that's so funny.
Yeah.
Mary, how far are you from Tule Lake?
Oh, over 2 hours, maybe more like 3 hours.
Oh.
Yeah, I still remember the Sunday I stayed overnight with Marcia and preached for them, and she didn't tell me that it wasn't real coffee. Oh boy. Some things you never forget, Marcia. I'm sorry.
That's great. That's great. So Dana, bring us up to date.
Well, I'm up here in Anchorage, Alaska. I've been involved with APSI for many years, and I've been very happy or grateful because any of the churches I've worked at, and including Diamond Bar, Northminster, have been very supportive of me, not only going to the annual event, but also being involved with a larger organization. So I was on the annual events ministry team, and then I'm currently finishing up a 6-year spot on the governance ministry team for the APSI organization. We're really the nominating committee, and then we became the diversity think tank in the last 2 years. We now have a diversity task force, which I'm serving on, and it's for us as an organization to really look at issues around racism, white privilege, equity, and justice. And we have a statement that's been approved by our leadership team, or the APSI that's been approved by our leadership team. And I think I don't know if it has to be approved by the body at this meeting in a couple of days, at the annual meeting, but anyway, it's part of who we hope to become. But one of the good things about this is that as a member of APSI, there's a series of 8 videos, and I noticed in Bob's thing he was talking about some of the small group stuff he'd been doing at his church and reading and the book studies he's had. Anyway, there's going to be 8 videos. It's put up by Crossroads, and I don't know if you know about that organization. It's not a PCUSA organization, but 2 or 3 of the people that are leaders in it are PCUSA people. But they do some really, really good work in terms of helping us look at the issues around race and a lot of other things. And they're available for you as a member of APSI to use in your own local congregations. And they will be highlighted sometime this weekend. I'm not sure when. But there's also going to be a lot of other resources available for us as educators, as pastors, those of us working in the churches. I mean, you're probably getting a little bit overwhelmed by some of it, but it's something that right now is so important, you know, that we finally, unfortunately, with the trauma that we've had with the shootings, etc., it's become something that we're all, you know, ready to work on. And so I invite you to look at these resources, and if there's any of us here that want to, as a regional group, you know, look at them together or at least have a discussion about them afterwards, I'd be interested in being a part of that. I guess that was more of an advertisement. The other thing I want to say is that, you know, we changed how we do the leadership in the APSI organization. So we need, I think it's 82 people to be on our ministry teams and serve in the leadership. And so if any of you are interested in that, there's a very simple application to fill out. There's 7 or 8 ministry teams. And I know that it's a way that many of you would help us become a more inclusive organization, if any of you have the time or interest in something like that. Plus, it's a great way to meet other people. Same way like Laura, I roomed with Laura last year at the annual event, so that was fun. And I usually room with different people from around the country, just because then I get to meet different people. But anyway, that's a little bit about me.
Well, thank you. And I will send out to all of you everybody's contact information. And Dana, I would love it if you would then reach out to folks about the specific events that you just talked about. I'm not the best or most motivating team leader in the world, and I'd love to have more happening within this region. And so take that opportunity to reach out to folks, and because the folks that are not here, at least 2 of them are pretty new to APSI, and they're both from Washington State, and I'll bet they would enjoy or might be interested in getting a little deeper into the organization. So that would be cool.
Roberta, I'm gonna do a time check. You've got about 10 minutes, just FYI.
Thank you. I wanted to find out, does everybody here know about the Hope for CE website and Facebook page? HOPE, the number 4 and CE. It is a wonderful place with contributors from all over the world, Christian educators from a variety of denominations from all over the world. And I would just encourage you, go to the website. It's a closed group, so you ask to join, but that's a formality. There's also a website by the same name with some really exceptional material posted there that addresses a wide variety of subject matter, and could make life a whole lot easier for you. The other thing I wanted to find out, and Melissa, I know you have a couple of these. Does anyone know of other upcoming online church conferences that we might be interested in? Melissa, I know you've got one or a couple.
I have a couple. There's Next Church coming in March. It is free. There's Intergenerate conference along with Kids Sabbath conference. They are doing, I think that one is also free and it's in May. So I haven't been to that one before, but I think if you're doing anything around generational ministry, that would be a good one to check out.
Cool. Could you put that information in the chat? If you please, ma'am. And one other thing, I had hoped that we could talk about more things, but that's okay. Let's go down, and the last thing that I thought would be appropriate as we bring our time together to an end is to share your favorite words on grace. And one that I offered, this is a quote from Maya Angelou: "You are only free when you realize you belong no place, you belong every place, no place at all. The price is high, the reward is great." And it just struck me that you know, she could have been talking about Jesus when she said that. And so that's what I would offer on the subject of grace. Did anyone else, does anyone else have something on grace that they would share with us?
Mary Gillespie. At the service at San Anselmo on Sunday, Scott Clark always says after he welcomes people to the Zoom that we're still learning. And then he ends by saying grace abounds. And that's kind of the theme.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
I'll let my baseball side show, but my phrase is grace bats last.
Yes, I love that. Others? Or what says grace to you? Where in your ministry do you encounter grace?
I grew up in a very conservative congregation, not Presbyterian. And anytime we had communion, it was like this scary thing because we had to be, quote, right with God. And so as I grew in my faith and through my Reformed faith, I learned about that the Lord's Supper, communion was a whole experience of grace. And so that's been very, very turning thing for me in terms of how I look at that sacrament.
Cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Others? How about you, Joe?
Well, for me, it's just, I really think this whole time period from last February when this pandemic started till now, grace has been abundant out there. You know, we're all trying new things. Our congregations in leadership, we're trying new things. In Sunday school, I'm trying new things, and some of them work and some of them don't. And people, there's just been a lot of grace given to us as we try.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Marcia, how about you?
Well, I'm in my extremely conservative area that I serve and I live in. Boy, I've had to ask for grace from the Lord so many times because my natural reaction to things is so opposite from most of the people that I'm around. And that has, you know, we've been here for what, 13, 14 years, and I'm still learning, and boy, do I need grace on that.
And I'll bet as a result of you asking for so much grace, you end up sharing a whole lot more grace than you're even aware of. I would bet.
I hope, but I don't know. I think people just might say, yeah, let's get rid of her.
How could they possibly do that?
Yeah,
Heather, how about you?
I agree.
I think along the same lines of what Joe was talking about, we had some tension in our congregation about noise from children in church when we were trying to do intergenerational things. And in the digital space, we've been able to have kids lead in creating videos and in submitting pictures. And we've been able to do some really silly off the wall things in the midst of worship that is so different from what we were allowed to do in person. And so I love that. I love seeing kids being the first people besides staff members that were on the screen of our virtual worship. And I'm just hopeful that we can continue with some of that joy and mischief and silliness that God stirred up in the virtual worship.
Cool.
Wonderful.
How about you, Carolyn?
Well, Grace is, for me, this last year has been just, sorry, the dogs are taken out of here. Has been, a lot of it has been just cutting me and helping me cut myself some slack until I could get my hip replaced. And now coming back from that, it's a slow process. And so I think that it's been less of a theological concept for me and a more personal kind of experience of trying to be gracious to myself and let God's grace come through.
Cool. Laura, how about you?
See, can you hear me okay right now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I think I'm kind of along the lines of Carolyn of more grace for myself, because I am working from home. I have a toddler that's running around and wants my every attention while my husband's having to work from home as well. And it's the grace of what I'm doing is not going to be perfect, and it's okay. The learning curve of how to edit my own videos and not make somebody else do it because they're volunteer and I don't want to make them do it. You know, and just having a lot of grace in those moments. And then especially with having her be the only consistent child to be showing up on like our fellowship stuff. And you know, I'd like to figure out how to get her incorporated in my videos, but I don't have the patience to do that yet. So, you know, a lot of grace around myself personally at this point, I think.
Wonderful. That's so neat. That's so neat. The first workshop that I went to today was John Roberto's. And so I've already had my cup overflowing with grace today. I will share all of his resources with you. And I hope you will also, I'll also share the resources from Bruce Reyes Chow's exceptional presentation this morning. And I would invite you all to do the same. Like I say, I'll be sending out everybody's email addresses. And I hope that your first workshop was as exceptional as mine. And I suspect that the other two will be as well. You know, when APSE is in person and they can only accommodate a relative handful of people in each workshop, there are myriads of workshops, but it sure seems at least so far that the workshops at this conference are going to be stellar. Or at least the first day has set a really high bar. And so that's a real pleasure. It's great. It's grace that it's affordable, and that those of us who are retired can be part of this. Just one other thing, if any of you would be interested in partnering with me around this region, this is my last year as APSE connector for the Northwest region, and I would love to have someone come alongside and maybe with the idea of stepping into this position starting in 2022. So give that some thought. Let's see. Well, Dana, since you sort of have come the furthest, if you will, or at least you get to get up an hour earlier than anybody else in this. Would you close us in prayer? Unmute.
We'll close in a prayer that I have. This is off my cuff, okay?
That works.
As we finish today, I'd like you to look around the faces that you see on this screen. And first of all, give God thanks for the ministry that you're in. Give God thanks for the people who have supported you along this journey. And then look at the eyes in this group and say thank you. Because as we continue in our work in this region, we have each other to learn from, to vent with, and to become God's people. So go forth today. Run a little, skip a little, and maybe walk. And take a Sabbath along the way.
Indeed.
God's best to each of you.
Amen.
Amen. And grace and blessings to each of you. I have so looked forward to spending a few minutes with you. Thank you for being here. May the rest of the conference be as much of a blessing to you as the first part has been to me. And I look forward to, and I will make a commitment to you to be in more closer and regular contact with you in this coming year. So blessings to you all.